everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Discovering Higher Level Tools in On-Plan Scheduling within Construction Online. Scheduling 102 is the second part of our two-part series where we demonstrate streamlining schedules to help keep your projects on track. Scheduling one-on-one, if you missed that part of the series, is on demand and can be watched at any time either on constructiononline.com or our UDA Technologies YouTube channel. In that first session, we covered the fundamentals, covering things like building schedules, setting predecessor relationships, and working with schedule automations. I'm Ivy Cole, a technical writer here at UDA Technologies, and I'm joined once again by my colleague, Carly Orlando.
Hi, everyone.
As a quick reminder, and for anyone new to Construction Online is a comprehensive all-in-one construction management software. It's designed to help teams of any size plan, manage, and deliver projects more efficiently. Carly, could you tell us a little bit more about on-plan scheduling?
Yeah, so OnPlan Scheduling is Construction Online's all-in-one software for building out Gantt charts. So what this allows you to do is not only does it allow you to build out your Gantt chart system, so it also allows you to visualize any task dependencies, clearly see tasks that must be completed in a specific manner, help you align team and trade schedules, really helping you avoid bottlenecks and improve client trust because you can provide constantly updated and accurate timelines to them.
By the end of this webinar, our goal for you all is to be able to apply best practices and advanced schedule management tips, learn how to link to-dos to schedule tasks, understand strategies for managing delays and adjusting critical paths, and explore resource management and logging integration. These advanced topics are designed to take your scheduling skills to the next level and help you maximize efficiency on every job. So we've learned how to create a schedule and add schedule tasks in 101. Now that we know how to do that, can we get started with how we can edit existing tasks?
Yeah, Ivy. So as you talked about, we covered in the last webinar the fundamentals of on-plan scheduling, creating those schedule paths, and understanding predecessor relationships. And this time we're going to be going over all the additional stuff with scheduling. So if we are looking at this, when we are looking in Construction Online, we are going to go ahead and already have all of our tasks built out. If at this point you were not familiar with how to build a schedule, we did mention that in the last webinar, and that's already on our YouTube, as Ivy said, so you can go here. What we're going to be doing right now, Ivy, is we're not only going to be talking about editing the task, but we're also going to talk about things that you can do while you're building those out. So if you're looking at a task in Construction Online, if you right click on it and select Edit Task, you actually can pull up a window where you have a lot of control over the different things. This is really great, especially for my clients who go in and they are trying to make a lot of changes or they have a lot of organization that they're wanting in their schedules. So you can go in and do things like adjust your start and end date, adjust your task durations like you can in your list. But you can also go in and do things like establish the status of a task, what the task type is going to be, and the percent complete. You can also go in and mark them as milestones, ASAP, or even mark them as complete from here, which can be really beneficial.
Carly, I'm noticing that some of your drop-down options for the fields that have the gear icon look different than some of mine within my Construction Online account. Why is that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Ivy. So, one of the things that I see that people that I work with a lot use is that when we're looking at those drop-down menus, if you select the gear icon, you can actually go in and customize any of those drop-down options. This is not only within scheduling, but universal across Construction Online. So, if we're looking at those task statuses, we can go in and update them, reorganize them, delete them, and we can do that not only for the status, but for the task type and the trade. Where this is beneficial to a lot of my clients is that this allows them a lot of control over categorizing things in their schedule. So when we're thinking of those schedules, if we wanted to go in and filter by a certain task type or filter by a certain trade, we can do that, which gives us a lot more insight into certain aspects of our schedule. We can even go in and update our task color to help color code as well. So if you do that, you can just click on that task color and it's going to populate and actually allow me to adjust what that's going to look like visually on my schedule as well. We can also go in and do our projected man hours, actual man hours, and remaining. So if I'm expecting a certain task to take maybe a few hours more than just one day, or let's say I have a task that is going to take 5 days and I'm projecting to take 40 man hours, I can track what that man hour time is actually being so that I can get a remaining. So let's say if I'm on that last day, I can always check those remaining man hours and see, oh, I only have 1 man hour remaining and it's first thing in the morning. Maybe we'll get started with the next scheduled task while we're here today. So those are some of the benefits that you can get from this section, Ivy. Additionally, you can go in if you utilize cost codes, you can assign those to specific projects. You just have to make sure it's assigned to the project first. And then just like any other section where you have cost codes in Construction Online, you can easily go in and assign those to the specific schedule task and even add things like cost impacts, tags, and schedules.
These are all great options for modifying those existing tasks. How about options for doing what I would argue is the most important thing when it comes to these tasks, assigning resources?
Yeah, so that's kind of the most common question I get as well, Ivy. How can I make sure that not only my internal team members are up to date with what's going on in the schedule, but how can I share that information with my subcontractors as well? So if I go in and I select the resources tab, I can go in and add as many resources as I want to a schedule. So I can do that by selecting add resources to task, and I can go in and click on them, and it will actually show you what their availability is over the upcoming weeks. So for example, if I look at Alex here, he's already got quite a bit of availability or things that are booked in the month of January. So if I wanted to maybe say, hey, I don't want to assign him, I can go in and assign it to Alexandria or Ali or anyone else in place of him, helping me kind of avoid that resource availability problem that I see companies run into. Additionally, if you're doing it for like a trade, let's say we wanted to make this whole section for a certain trade, I can right click on the group and edit all of the tasks within that group at once. So that includes setting those bulk task colors or going in and even doing things like assigning priorities or resources. And then I can do it all at once for every section of my job. Again, that's especially beneficial if you use phase construction. I have a couple companies that I work with on a pretty regular basis, Ivy, that have multiple schedules where they may have a whole framing phase or a whole rough-in phase. And by going in and assigning those resources out, you can get a lot more clarity on what you can expect with those different phases in your schedule.
So it looked like in order to assign a resource that they have to be within my Construction Online account as a contact. Is that right?
Yes, so they don't necessarily have to be added as an employee to your Construction Online account, but they do need to be at least added under the team management section where you can go in and add like your contacts. So you want to make sure that you're going in and adding these people. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. All you need to add a contact that's a basic contact in Construction Online is just your first name, last name, and email. But once they're in, you would be able to pull them into that schedule and assign them as a resource.
Okay, so if I do have them within the system as a client link, team link, or a part of my company, how can I send them reminders about scheduled tasks?
Yeah, so this is actually a newer feature that we've released due to popular demand more recently, where you can actually go in and create reminders for specific tasks in Construction Online. Some of you guys who are watching the webinar today may have already seen these things, but just in case you haven't, when you are looking at the schedule task, you can go into the Reminders tab and you can actually set different types of reminders. There's three kind of by default, so you can do planning, starting, and custom. With those, you can go in and create multiple reminders. So if I wanted to create a planning reminder, you can send a reminder 10 days before, and then maybe I want to send another one a day before the task starts. I can go in and set those up so we can set multiple reminders even for that task. Additionally, you can go in and customize what you want that reminder to say. So if there's certain things, thinking in real life, that you want people to be aware of before they come to a job site. Let's say you have a vendor crew. who's coming and you want them to know certain information. Maybe you can include something in here of please be mindful that there are going to be XYZ punch lists that you need to fill out. Please bring XYZ tools. Make sure that you are including the materials when you are doing this, or please reference Plan Set A to go in. And that way, when they get that reminder, not only are they getting a reminder about the schedule task, it's also getting them to think about the things they are going to need to get that task started properly. So that's another tool in your toolbox that you can use to make sure all your teams are in alignment. Additionally, with that, Ivy, you can also go in and add notes and attachments to a schedule task. So going off that same strain, if you wanted to go in and you wanted to set the reminder, maybe you do have a plan that you want to upload or something that you want people to be able to reference. You can add that to your individual tasks or even add notes where you can go in and add like task notes, field notes, or subcontractor notes with insert timestamp so you have a lot more control over that communication aspect. Now, when it comes to tasks, one other question that I get a lot, Ivy, is what about milestones?
Mm-hmm.
So, in Construction Online, when we are thinking about milestones, that's going to be taking a task and it's setting it more as not necessarily a task that needs to be completed, but something that needs to be done, or maybe a major point. So if we're thinking about milestones, these are usually 0 work days, and they involve things like some people use them for things like inspection dates. If you wanted to go in and mark a scheduled task as an inspection, if you have certain dates that things need to be ordered by, if you have certain client walkthroughs that are going to occur. You can set these within your schedule either by inserting them as just like a milestone, or you can even go in and right click, edit that task, and if you set that workday duration to 0, that's going to automatically adjust it to a milestone, and you'll be able to see that on there as like a little star or anything else. And you can have as many of those as you want. So, like if I add a milestone, it's going to go in, new milestone, and then I can go in and customize those as well.
Great. So, what about some options for tracking these milestones within the schedule?
Yeah, so kind of the benefit of milestones when we're thinking about them is if you are going in and you are working with milestones in Construction Online, and we're using them as that kind of benefit driven tool where we can start to document the most important things that are happening on our schedule, we can actually go in and we can see all of those milestones together and we can actually look on our milestone timeline. So if I'm looking at it here, I can go in and see all my different milestones. We actually have some great examples built out in the schedule already. So if I set that unit distribution plan, that's going to go into October 3rd, January 8th, preliminary plat submittal, but it gives you a lot more control over when those things are happening without all of the extra noise that you may have just working in your schedule.
That's great. So I'm watching the Q&A and it looks like we are getting a few questions about inserting delays when something comes up and disrupts the project schedule. Could you explain that process next?
Yeah, so thinking about delays and running those jobs in real time. When you are working in Construction Online, you can select Add a Delay under the New tab in the ribbon, or you can go to this three-dot menu and select Insert a Delay. What this allows you to do is it's going to allow you to insert basically a full block on your schedule and it shows you exactly what it's going to do. So any tasks whose start and end dates intersect with the delay start date will have their end dates shift forward by the selected duration. So making that easy to understand, if I have a task that goes from Monday to Friday and I insert a delay on Wednesday and Thursday, it's going to push out that end date to Tuesday of the following week. Any tasks whose start and end date fall after the delay start date, so anything that's after begins after that delay, is also going to be pushed out by the selected duration. I can set those delays by just updating the start and end date. Or if it's more of like a weather thing, I know I work with some clients, Ivy, in Florida who have to deal with hurricane season, which can be super unpredictable. When we're thinking about that, we can even set delays by days or weeks. If material delay, whatever else, maybe a week. If you're doing like weather, maybe that's a couple days. but that makes it a little more smooth for you without having to think about exactly when that start and end date is going to occur. We can also go in and set delay details. So I can go in and set what the delay details is. Workers not available, waiting on inspection, weather, materials not delivered on time. These are kind of the defaults that Construction Online allows you to set. But again, just like we discussed earlier, Ivy, you can actually go in and set those using that gear icon and even color code them. And then when you save them, you can choose the delay and how it's going to appear on the Gantt chart. You also have the option to treat those as non-work days, or if you wanted maybe the task to keep going, but you wanted to mark, hey, there was a noted delay here, you can do that as well. Once you're done, you just hit save, and that's actually going to insert directly on your Gantt chart, and you'll be able to see it up here in your schedule progress as well. So a really great tool for managing your jobs in real time.
This looks great for whole project delays, but what about when there's a delay that only affects one scheduled task?
Yeah, this is a super common question I get. So, when we're looking at inserting just a delay for a specific task, maybe there's materials that need to be delivered that haven't necessarily come in yet. You can absolutely do that. Most of the time, what I see my clients do is they'll just update the number of work days. And then they'll make like a note on that project using that notes feature that we talked about
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, this task was delayed by 4 days. We can expect everything else to be pushed out as a result. And I see a question that has come through on our QA, and it says, would adding a delay to a critical path item automatically push the rest of the schedule as well? And the answer is yes, if you have that treat delays as non-work days. So looking at that delay feature again, if we have this button clicked right here, this is going to push everything out. So let me give a little example so everyone can see. I'm going to create one for the 19th here. If I go in and I create that insert delay, and I'm going to say that it's going to start on January 19th and end on whatever it would be. So let's say it's going to end on the 22nd. We're going to make it start on the 19th. And I'm just going to save that. You'll see that it's going to push everything forward. And even if we scroll down to this task right here, we can see that it's automatically extended that number of workdays to push out. So that's a really great tool that you can use when you're looking at those delays.
Okay, so with Construction Online being such an integrated system, what are some other options we have to integrate OnPlan with other features?
Yeah, so when we're talking about Construction Online as an integrated system, no, most of my clients that are using Construction Online are using it to go in and manage the entirety of all of their jobs, not just from a scheduling aspect. Construction, with the nature of the industry, has a lot of overlap between different departments. There's a lot of moving pieces anytime you're running a schedule, and Construction Online is integrated specifically to accommodate that. So when we're thinking about the different ways that we can use scheduling with other features in Construction Online, the biggest thing that I always get a lot of impact with when I'm showing clients is the ability to link to-dos. So what that does is if we are looking in our schedule and we are looking at this little icon right here, it's 3 dots connected by lines. If I click on that for a specific job, I can actually go in and create to-dos for it. So I can show my linked items, and then I can go in and actually link those to-dos directly to my schedule itself. I can also do it from here, and this is going to allow me to do it. So there's 3 different ways I can do it. And then I can go in and link that schedule task to whatever to do I want. I can also link different areas. So like if I'm clicking here, I want to link it to a to do. I can absolutely do that. Create my to do, and that's going to automatically pull in. So let's say, for example, this is TIA kickoff. I have something that I want completed. I want to assign my resources, and I want to go in. Once you hit create, it's going to kick that off to the side right here, and I will be able to see my number of linked items. Where I see people get the most benefit from this is going in and thinking about order dates. That's kind of the case example that I see a lot of people use. If you are working in, let's say, framing, you may want to order certain materials before framing even begins. So if you're doing site work or concrete, you may attach a to-do that shows you, hey, by the way, I have a specific um, ordering that needs to be completed in construction online around the time that concrete is being run so that I have it in time for framing. The benefit of that is that then whenever I'm doing my concrete, I see, oh, I have a linked to do. I know that I need to mark that as complete. So I can click on that, it'll appear here on the side, and I'd be able to mark it done. Again, I have some examples here. So if you have an unlinked to do, maybe you go in and you've built out your to-do list already. You can just go in and actually drag and drop those over to the right and drag and drop those onto any specific schedule task, and it's going to go in and allow you to link those to-dos right here. So I know when I'm working on this task, I know I need to install 2 lights, order plumbing fixtures, and it allows me to get more management out of my construction online schedule because I can document that.
So I noticed that there's an assigned resource field on the to-do as well. When I'm creating a to-do from a scheduled task, do those need to reflect each other or can I have different assigned resources?
Yeah, so you can have different assigned resources. So if I click on one for an item and I'm creating a to-do, it's not necessarily going to automatically say, hey, this is the assigned resource for that. The reason why is kind of using that ordering example that we were talking about. You may have a person who is in charge of ordering that is site is different than the person who's actually completing concrete. So that kind of allows you to include interpersonal team communication. Somebody can reach out and be like, hey, I see a to do here. It's linked. Can you provide some information about what you're trying to achieve? And that's going to be that. Another question that we're getting in the question and answer is, have you ever been able to have to-dos auto adjust the deadline based on when the item is happening in the calendar? And the answer to this is that the to-do date, when you create it from the schedule task, is going to have the same due date, but it's not going to automatically update. Again, if we use that ordering example, you may not want to order that date or that framing if concrete gets delayed. You kind of want that to stay. It's more so you can get a visual of when certain to-dos are needing to be complete. Now you can always go in and adjust the end date of the to-do as well. So like if I needed to adjust this, if there's a delay in my schedule, I can do that. But for the most part, those to-dos are independent. The linkage is there to promote that inter-team communication and make sure everyone is on the same page. Additionally, thinking about that, keeping everybody on the same page. Ivy, I know that we have in the past talked quite a bit about the daily logging features, and we've actually released, I know you wrote a great article on this, some new features when it comes to daily logs in terms of new log types that we've released. So if you haven't watched our webinar or any of our videos on the advanced daily logging, I'd highly recommend it. But one of the new features that we've released as part of that set is that you can actually go in and create scheduled work logs and scheduled resources logs. And these are going to pull directly from your schedule. So, like, for example, in this one, I have a task that's running from today. I can document exactly what happened with that schedule task on my daily log. Same thing with that scheduled resources. If I know that I'm a scheduled resource, I can go in and say, yes, these scheduled resources appeared. This is the number of work hours they completed and things like that. So it's a really great new tool that we've implemented to allow you to go in and make that process of documenting what's happening on a job site that much easier. Because you can even do things like, hey, this is reimbursable. Hey, did somebody not show up? Let's say you're working with a subcontractor. I cannot tell you, Ivy, how many clients I've had that have personally come to me and said that they have trouble with their subcontractors sometimes not showing up on certain days. This gives you a way to document it in a way that if you ever needed to go pull that log that shows that people are continuously not showing up, people are continuously having problems completing the work in the assigned time, it allows you to have that documentation on file in case that job ever goes to litigation. So, a really powerful tool that you have here specifically with the daily logging integration. And last but not least, another great feature that we have, if we're thinking about scheduling or selections, when we're thinking about our client selections, we can actually go in and on our client selections, we can link those to milestones within our project. And that's going to automatically update the due date of that selection. So let's say we know that ordering is going to happen between the 5th and the 10th. I can go in and mark that to, hey, there's a milestone for ordering, and it's going to automatically update that due date and make sure that there's a linkage between that milestone due date and the due date on my selection to help keep everybody on the same page with what's occurring. So, when it comes to scheduling integrations, a lot of really, really powerful tools that you have here directly within the schedule for making sure that everyone's on the same page.
Wow, we've really covered a lot from linking to-dos, assigning resources, and sharing schedules. Now, what about sharing those schedules with people outside of the system? Or maybe if I want to have a hard copy of certain aspects of my schedule, what are some options for that?
Yeah, great question, Ivy. And I know that this is something that I talk with my clients about a ton. So, when it comes to scheduling, the biggest thing that everybody wants to know, of course, is almost as important as signing resources is how can I get this information in a way that everybody can see it and that I can get real-time insights on what is happening on my job.
Mhm.
So when we're looking at the reporting feature, if I go to reports and I go to schedule reports, I can run reports on pretty much anything within my schedule. So I can run schedule summaries, schedule completions, baselines, schedule milestones, schedule notes, schedule conflict, and group completion. So if I'm going here as well to the schedule reports, these are all the same schedules that I just went over, but if you ever have a question on what exactly that report is pulling, this will give you a little guide to what information is going to be included. So for example, if I wanted to run a report for all of my schedule milestones and who's assigned to them, I can do that. It'll print into a PDF and then I can just easily distribute that however I need to. If my client is maybe asking for a print copy of the schedule or they want to see it and you're not using SmartLink, you can do that and print the schedule and however you prefer. The schedule summary is going to show you all the tasks and statuses with a specific date range and optional filtering by resource. So if I'm running a schedule summary, I can go in and actually run one by the resource, by the trade, or by the task type. Again, Ivy, kind of calling back to when you can customize those drop downs, you can really organize that. And you can even choose date ranges. So if you're only looking at your schedule, I know a lot of my contractors that I work with use 3 week lookouts. You can do that and choose what you want to include on those. So a lot of really great options for schedule reporting. Now, directly on the schedule itself, you can also go in and export this as an XML file. So if you are wanting to do any of that, you can go right here to this three dot menu and you have export schedule. So you can export that as a Microsoft project file. Again, that's always going to go as a .xml. With Microsoft Project also no longer going to be around, we are also going into the direction of allowing you to export to Excel. This is going to allow you to export that list view directly to an Excel document so that you can use it for whatever purposes you need. So a lot of really great options there for going in and exporting that, allowing people to see it, and more.
I kind of want to dive deeper into our integrations. I know we have great integrations within the system, but I also know we have some outside of the system. So, how can we integrate with Google and Outlook, and how can I share my schedule to those platforms?
Yeah, so kind of in that same spot, if we are doing that, we can go to that three dot menu, and when we go to export schedule, we can choose to export to Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar. Of course, you'll want to make sure that you have those integrations set up. You can do that by navigating to this company dropdown And then right here under the integrations tab, you can go in and choose which one you're integrating with. But as long as you have all that set up, when you are hitting that export schedule option, you can export it to Google Calendar, and it's going to basically send that schedule over to Google and create tasks in Google for me. So it's not going to be entirely as a like just a every project ever. It's only going to be for that individual one. So you can do that, and then, of course, as well, you can also go into the project calendar and see those schedule tasks here if you prefer a monthly view and you're not using any of those as well. You can also, Ivy, I know a question that we have really commonly is sharing with TeamLink and ClientLink. So making sure that people are able to see that. So if we click on this three-dot menu again and we go to ClientLink TeamLink settings, we can share our schedules. Now, talking a little bit about this, ClientLink and TeamLink have very different permissions based on what they're actually going to need to be doing within the schedule. So if we're thinking about Client Link, we can go in and we can have Client Link users view the project schedule. We can also choose to hide the Gantt chart from them, but show just those milestones that we talked about on the project calendar. And we can choose whether or not we want to show cost impact to them. For companies that are running cost plus primarily, it may be beneficial to show those cost impacts so they can expect any changes that may be occurring. But for some people who like to keep that information internal, you can. Now, with your Team Link users, you have a lot of additional control over that. So you can choose to have them view the project schedule. You can hide the Gantt chart from them and only show them the tasks they're assigned to on that project calendar. You can hide the schedule Gantt chart and only show milestones. You can show cost impact values or choose not to. Or you can even go in and allow Team Link users to mark those tasks as complete. So when we're thinking about sharing those, we can go through in a lot of different ways and go over the different ways that our Team Link users are able to integrate with Construction Online, sign in, and see that detail.
So when you say users, are those going to apply to all Client Link and Team Link, or are they on a per client, per Team Link user basis?
Yeah, so when we're setting up our Client Link permissions, those are all global. So Client Link and Team Link permissions are all global. Where this comes into play is that if you have it individual, what ends up happening is that you have no idea what anyone's seeing at any given time. By keeping it global, those settings apply to everyone. So there's never a question about what any one person can see. If all of your clients are able to see the schedule, you can be aware of that. If all of your Team Link users need to be able to see the schedule, you can make it aware of that as well. But it just gives you a lot more clarity on who is able to access certain information within the system. Additionally, when we're thinking about Team Link and Client Link, you want to make sure that you're sharing the information with them, but you also want to make sure that you're going back periodically to check what they can see. I know that sometimes when we here at UDA, I know Ivy, you've answered a few of these questions. When we get questions from Client Link users, that's primarily coming from, hey, I cannot see something. And what you can do to kind of get around that is if you navigate to the team overview, you can right click on that Client Link user's name and you can go in and actually see what they can see. So give me just a moment and I'll pull that up. If I right click on Alexandria and John's name, I can right click Preview Portal, and this is going to actually load it exactly as they would see it. So you can see here, I don't have the calendar, or I do not have the Gantt chart shared with them, so they would not be able to see it. But that's how you can also get around some of those questions about what my client can see and what they can't. Finally, last reporting option, and again, something really beneficial that we offer is if you go into the schedule reports, we offer cash flow reporting. So if you ever are a cost plus company or you're wanting to generate reports showing predicted cash inflow, you can go in and do that. And that's where those cost impacts come in really handily. These are custom True Vision reports that are part of those True Vision packages. So a lot of really good beneficial stuff here.
So we've gone in and created this wonderful schedule creating all the necessary tasks, linking certain to-dos, and assigning resources. Isn't there a way within Construction Online that I can save this information for later use in new schedules?
Yeah, so when we're doing that, we're really thinking about those schedule templates. So if I go to my schedule and it's built out exactly the way I like it, under this new section, I can hit create template and I can actually go in and save that so I can reuse it on different projects moving forward. So here I can choose what I want to include in my template. So if I wanted to include predecessors or different durations, I can. If I wanted to keep those reminders consistent, I can. So if you have any questions on that, you're always welcome to reach out. But for the most part, whatever you select here is what's going to be included with that template, Ivy. Now, I do see several Q&A questions coming through, and since we have a few more minutes, I'm going to go through some of them. So one person asked, can you add a vendor crew as a resource? Yeah, you can. So there's a couple different ways to do it. If you are working with the schedule itself and you wanted to just assign 3 or 4 people, there's no limit on the number that you can add. So if you have your contacts in and you're assigning those resources to that, you can always search by their company and then just click on who you need there. If you only have one sign in for that person or they all use a similar shared sign in, you can just update their display name to be the name of the company, and that way it gives you a little more control over adding that as a vendor crew. Another question we've gotten, we often have delays with a particular trade that does not make all work on a site on a non-work day. Will a particular trade delay only affect tasks with a delayed task as the predecessor? So, complicated question, but breaking that down. When you have problems with a particular trade that is not making all work on a non-work day, you can go in and you can customize those work days to make work days exceptions. So if they need to make it up, you can always have them make it up. Additionally, you can always go in and create additional work day, like adding them on, like we talked about for the individual task, which may affect other ones with that as a predecessor, but that's usually the way that most people manage that. Another question that we have we is there a way to create apply filters on my schedule and create a report with only those filtered tasks? Yes, there is. So when we are looking at the schedule, we can go in and do the filters and we can go in and filter by our trade, our priority, and that's going to pull out everything in our schedule that has that assigned priority or that assigned trade. If we want to run a report based on that, the best option is to go to schedule reporting, and then you can run a schedule summary. Because when you run that schedule summary, you can go in and filter that report by trade. And if you wanted to do it for the full schedule, of course, you would just update that start date and end date to be the whole thing, and you can go in and filter that. Another great question, can we link the tasks with the budget? So the best way to do that is when we are creating it in Construction Online, if we create our estimate first, we can create our schedule directly from that estimate. Another person wanted me to clarify kind of that same question that you asked, Ivy. How are those client link settings set up? Those are global, so they are not by job. When we are setting all of those client link up, that is going to be universal across Construction Online. Each job in Construction Online will have the same client link permissions.
All right, well, it looks like we're about to wrap up, but before we do so, I do want to talk a little bit about on-plan scheduling and the availability within our plans. All of our plans from Construction Online LT level and above include on-plan scheduling, which means it's in all residential, commercial, multifamily, and specialty and sub plans. It is also available to all of our clients as a per user add-on for any lower custom tier. As we have mentioned, please do not hesitate to reach out to us either by our website, constructiononline.com, or through our support team for any additional information or assistance. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to join us on this webinar. We really appreciate it, and we hope that these advanced scheduling tips help you with running your projects more efficiently.
All right, everyone, have a great day. If you put in a QA question and didn't get to it in the QA section, we will be reaching back out. And like Ivy said, we are going to be sending out that webinar recording. So if you have any questions, you're always welcome to email into our support team. But for right now, have a great day, everyone.